Dear students, welcome to a new series of topics, namely the bleeding disorders. This will be a difficult set to have a total concept about, even for the postgraduate students. And for the undergraduate students, I have tried to make it as simple as possible, but my request is you follow each and every one of my lecture diligently. Welcome. Welcome to RATS in Pathology, Racing Against Time for students in pathology, and we shall be continuing with our classes in hematology. As mentioned earlier, we shall be entering an arena of bleeding disorders. This will be an overview. Whenever we use the term bleeding, it means blood is getting lost. But then there can be numerous causes because of it. One can be traumatic, and pathologically it can be because of vascular disorders, thrombocytopenia, that is a decrease in platelets, functional disorders of platelets, clotting factor deficiency, consumption coagulopathy, or disseminated intravascular coagulation. All these are university questions for us, and all these are exceptionally important when we become physicians. A quote regarding bleeding. I hope you will be able to enjoy it. There are different types of bleeding. The two terms on the screen, bleeding and hemorrhage, are used interchangeably. But then bleeding is supposed to denote a lesser scale of it, whereas hemorrhage is more massive. However, please do understand that both the terms can be used interchangeably. Here there is a cut injury and then there is a bleeding, and here I am finding an ocular hemorrhage. And this we all know, a cerebral hemorrhage. It can be because of hypertension, a subarachnoid hemorrhage, or in various other spaces, or it can be due to a rupture of the intracranial aneurysm. So the definitions are given over here. The bleeding and hemorrhage terms are indicating the loss of blood to the exterior of the body or into the body cavities. This is due to a break in the intact vasculature. Hemorrhage is generally considered to be more voluminous than bleeding. There are also different clinical manifestations. Petechiae, which means pinpoint. I am able to see very minute, the tip of a needle, as points of hemorrhage. Purpura is slightly larger. Obviously, we can compare this with this. And what are the definitions? Here in this case, probably due to an external injury, there is a large map-like area called as ecchymosis. Ecchymosis is a large, flat, blotchy area, more than 1 square centimeter. In this case, it is several square centimeters, caused by trivial or severe injury. Purpura, which we had seen in the earlier picture, 4 to 10 millimeters, and petechiae less than 3 millimeters, or as low as a pinpoint. These three terms you people should know and have in mind. This list of clotting factors we have seen from physiology upwards, and the number is given over here, and accordingly what is the synonym that is used. So these are all the various clotting factors which you people should know. Kindly do revise and by heart this particular list. The list of clotting factors. And what we are seeing on the screen is the role of these clotting factors in the prevention of bleeding or the arrest of bleeding. There are two pathways which can lead to it. One is an extrinsic pathway, another is an intrinsic pathway. Whatever be it, you find that there is a cascade of events. Cascade means it is a rolling over, one leading on to the other. For example, factor 12, 12A. A means activated form of it. 11, 11A. 9, 9A. And then factor 10, it becomes 10A. For these can be the enzymatic factors. Factor 8, factor 9, or even factor 6 and the tissue factor. The yellow color indicates the common pathway, the blue color the intrinsic pathway, and the green color the extrinsic pathway. So there are three pathways of bleeding. Please do understand it. And some of them are hemostatic, some of them are mechanical, and some of them are adhesive. Please follow that in this one. I would appreciate you people very much if you can reproduce this coagulation or a clotting cascade. Cascade is a very important word. Recently, in another context, a metastatic cascade was asked as a question and the students fumbled a little bit. So please do memorize it. There is a lot of importance. For example, a patient can be having a defect in any one of the clotting factors and then ultimately his blood doesn't clot at all. So we will have to locate where exactly the fault is. That we shall be dealing with in detail when we go to the investigations in bleeding disorders. This is just an introduction. The next friend of ours will be the platelet. The platelet is one of the smallest cells of the body and it hardly measures about 1 to 2 microns. You can say 1/7 of an RBC. The normal count is 1.5 to 4.5 lakhs per cubic millimeter. The size is about 1 to 2 microns. It is small, irregular. Sometimes when it is active, there can be minute processes on the surface, just like an amoeba. The center contains granules and it is called the granulomere, whereas the periphery is more hollow or clear. So this is the normal morphology of a platelet. And that is what we are seeing over here, the structure of the platelet. So it is important for us to replenish our knowledge regarding the structure of the platelets. Tomorrow you may be getting a question on thrombocytopenia, idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, any of the platelet disorders, thrombosis, antithrombotic factors, so on and so forth, where this will have to be recollected. So what are the structures we shall be seeing again in detail? Just have an idea of it. Vasculitis. We have seen the clotting factors, we have seen the platelet, and then there is another group of disorders wherein the defect is in the blood vessels itself. Itis means inflammation. And vasculature, it can be arteries, it can be veins. There is an inflammation of the blood vessels and hence it is called vasculitis. Look at this region, it is a blood vessel. I am finding eosinophilic acellular material indicating necrosis. It is a case of a fibrinoid necrosis and there is infiltration of neutrophils into the walls, classical of a leukocytoclastic vasculitis, allergic vasculitis. In this context, there is one disorder which might be asked. It has been asked as a question in some of the universities. We will not omit this question if we get it. Inox-Conlin purpura. Basically, it is a vasculitis. It is a hypersensitivity reaction. And there is a synonym for it. It is an anaphylactoid purpura. It can be because of any of the external agents such as bacteria, viruses, food, etc., to which IgA antibodies are formed. And then there is an immune complex which gets attached and it leads to fibrinoid necrosis. This can be in the kidney, in the skin, and in the blood vessels as such. Clinically, you find it is more common in children, more common in females. Most of the immunological disorders are more common in females. We shall see why at a later date. The rashes are purpuric. You find multiple dots are there. Sometimes they can coalesce together to form a larger area. Polyarthritis. there can be hemarthritis. Renal, there can be hematuria, there can be albuminuria. Abdomen, there can be mural vasculitis. Mural means large capacious chamber, wherein there is a vasculitis and it can lead to perforation. So these can be the features. You can answer this question very well if it is asked in medicine also. Along with that, there can be inflammation of the body cavities, pericarditis, pleuritis, etc., along with edema. Inoxacontin purpura. So this is an immunofluorescent picture in which finding glistening substances on the vessel wall, and a photograph has been taken because it cannot last more than 30 minutes. It can happen in renal biopsies, skin biopsies, or in small vessels elsewhere. There can be a deposition of antigen-antibody complexes which lead to a series of reactions which is called vasculitis. And that is what we people are seeing over here due to the deposition of IgA in this case. When we see the blood picture, it is normocytic, normochromic. There can be neutrophilia because of the inflammation, vasculitis. If it is allergic, there can be eosinophilia. Platelets are normal, they are increased also. And tourniquet test is positive. In vasculitis, there is a test called tourniquet test, which will be positive. The course and prognosis of this disease is excellent. It is self-limiting. Antihistamines can be given. And in some cases, we will have to treat the complications. So in just 2 slides, I have given you an outline of inoxacontin purpura. And this is a classical tetrad. It is not a triad, it is a tetrad. You get a non-thrombocytopenic purpura. There is no decrease in platelets. That is why it is called non-thrombocytopenic purpura. I am finding multiple small dots. Sometimes they are coalescing to form larger masses. There can be an abdominal pain because of vasculitis, perforation, etc. And there can be hematuria. Also, there is arthritis. In this case, there is a blood that is going into the joint space. So these are the tetrads or features of inoxacontin purpura. Please remember these. Our next friend here is the megakaryocyte. The megakaryocyte, there are 2 cells over here. This is a normal cell that we have in our body, one of the largest cells. The nucleus, it has got a lobulation. It is a very large cell, in fact. And there is a low nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, abundant cytoplasm, basophilic in color. Sometimes you find that there can be a smaller one. The lobules are lesser in number. We call it as hypolobulation. Hypolobulated or lobated. And this is the size of the cell. Size of the cell itself is lower. This can happen in abnormal megakaryocytes, which we will be seeing in some disorders such as ITP. Coming back to the structure of the platelet, I would like you people to remember these things. There is a canalicular system. So there is a cell membrane over here, and then it dips in, it forms some kind of an interconnecting canalicular system, just like backwaters. Also, you find that there can be some tubules which are supporting it, which are called the microtubules. Organelles such as mitochondria in a normal cell are present. And there are some filaments which maintain the size of it and the shape of it, submembrane filaments. And normally the membrane is trilaminar, just like any other cell. So this is one, the canalicular system in which you are having microtubules. There can be other tubules also which can be present. More important, I told you that there is a granular zone in the center, hypogranular zone in the periphery. And the granules can be alpha granules or dense granules. These are found in the center. This is the structure of a platelet. It will be very much appreciated if you people can write something about the structure of the platelet before plunging into thrombocytopenia or thrombocytopenic purpura. The same thing is mentioned over here. There is a peripheral zone in which we are finding a trilaminar membrane, and then there is a canalicular system. And sol gel zone in which it is somewhere in between. You find there can be microtubules and filaments. Look at this one, these are the microtubules can be seen. And then there is an organelle rich central zone. So alpha granules are there, dense granules are there, etc. Lysosomes are there. So this is the organelle rich zone or a granule. So we'll go to the platelet membrane glycolipids. We'll have to remember this. This will haunt us repeatedly. There is a glycoprotein, types are there. 1A and 2A help in the addition to collagen. There is a glycoprotein 1B which gets attached to factor 9, and 5 is the mediator for von Willebrand factor dependent addition. There are another set of glycolipids, namely 2B and 3A, which bind to fibrinogen and help in aggregation. So these three sets of glycolipids we shall be remembering. This is the megakaryopoiesis. Please see what is happening over here. There is a hematopoietic stem cell. There is a proliferation of this. From this, there is a predecessor or precursor of the megakaryocyte and the erythroid. And these form a colony forming unit from which you get the megakaryocyte in the bone marrow. So it is a large cell, it has got a lobulated nucleus, abundant cytoplasm, etc. From this, there can be fragmentation, which is the platelet that we see in the peripheral blood. So this is about megakaryopoiesis. Please do have an idea of it. This can happen in some cases. You find that there will be this is the structure of a platelet over here. This whole structure is a platelet. It becomes sensitized. That means it has got certain abnormal substances on the top. So there will be antiplatelet antibodies which are produced. They get attached to it. Once antibodies get attached, all the mononuclear phagocytic cell macrophages, they have got certain receptors for the immunoglobulins. They get attached, after which there is a phagocytosis and a destruction. So there are different types of receptor, Fc receptor, etc. And the main cells which will cause a destruction will be the spleen and the liver. This also we shall be coming to repeatedly in the pathogenesis. Well, a small mnemonic designed by me. I hope you people will be able to remember it. I remember platelets. The causes for thrombocytopenia. And this is it. I hope you people will be able to memorize it. I, immunological, which can be SLE, R for radiation, P, platelet disorders, which can be DIC, ITP, TTP, L, leukemia, all forms of leukemia except CML. A for aplastic anemia, T for trauma, E for enlarged spleen, which is active, hypersplenism. L for liver diseases, E for ethanol, T for chemotherapy and transfusion, and S for sepsis. The T can be for treatment also. So all this is a mnemonic. I hope you people will be able to memorize it. This incidentally is how a platelet looks. It is not as bland as we are seeing. It will be active with multiple processes, and this indicates. Look at this one. These are the granules that are found in the platelets. Remember the alpha granules and the dense granules. Sometimes you can get difficult MCQs. So it is better that we people go through this. These are the specific proteins which are there. Platelet specific proteins, coagulation system proteins, fibrinolytic proteins. And these are the components of these. And similarly, there can be fibronectin and albumin. In the dense granules, there are anions and cations which contain these substances. This particular one you people will have to memorize. For example, I can ask an MCQ like this. antiplasmin is found in any of these will be given as a choice, and you people will have to know. It is a little difficult, but since we are having the next exam, we shall be preparing like that. So please do memorize this. And what have we seen so far? What is the bleeding due to? Is it a vascular cause? Is it a defect in the clotting factor? And if so, which are the clotting factors? Is it the intrinsic pathway or the extrinsic pathway? Or is it because of the platelets? If so, is it numerical or is it functional? Or is there another disease called disseminated intravascular coagulation? So that is the idea of today's class. I hope it is a little difficult to have a concept of, but definitely you people will be developing it when you repeat it. Repetition is the mother of knowledge. So another quote related to bleeding. Hope you people like this class. Thank you.